Rejected for bringing her child to job interview, this single mom's incredible journey took a heart-wrenching turn. Sarah stood in front of the glass doors, heart racing like a wild stallion. Just days before, she'd lost her job at the bakery, the one place where flour and sugar seemed to bind her fragile world together. Now, as a single mother with bills piling like a stack of dirty dishes, she felt a long way from home. But today, perhaps today would be different. A job opening at the local community center glittered on the horizon, promising stability and hope for her lively 5-year-old, Jackson, who danced beside her in a tornado of energy. Their future depended on this leap. However, the universe had a way of testing her. The babysitter had canceled just hours before her interview, leaving Sarah torn. Should she miss this golden opportunity or take a chance on herself? With a heavy heart, she decided to bring Jackson with her. Clutching his tiny hand, she whispered affirmations of love as they entered the brightly lit office, a realm filled with possibility, or so she thought. The moment they walked in, her heart sank. The hiring manager's barely concealed frown and dismissive wave sent a jolt through her. "This is unprofessional," he said, as if striking a match to her hopes. The flame of her confidence flickered and sputtered. Backing out of the office, her chest tightened. Jackson innocently piped up, "Can we still get ice cream now, Mommy?" His sweet voice was a dagger to her heart, but she mustered a smile. "Sure, buddy," she replied, as tears welled up, making her vision blur. Returning home, the refrigerator stared back at her, empty and cavernous, just like her spirit. Bills loomed like dark clouds, threatening rain. Just when despair threatened to swallow her whole, Mrs. Hart, her wise neighbor, appeared, her silver hair glinting in the afternoon sun. "You've got grit, Sarah," she said, her voice firm yet kind. Those words stirred a part of Sarah long buried beneath uncertainty. In that moment, the flicker of stubborn hope ignited again. Inspired, Sarah dove into creativity. With Jackson's old art supplies and materials scavenged from around the house, she crafted unique handmade items. Ideas flowed like river water, each piece a small act of rebellion against despair. As the word spread through town, local shops began taking interest, fueling the fire within her. A side business was born, burgeoning from scraps and raw determination. But, even with her newfound success, Sarah couldn't shake the humiliation of that interview. She felt like a ghost of judgment, defined by a single moment. Resolved to confront the hiring manager, she wanted to show him that being a mother didn't diminish her professionalism. It empowered her. She pictured every single mom, every hard-working family that deserved respect. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With fire in her belly, Sarah prepared for this confrontation, standing on the brink of transformation. She knew it wouldn't just be about her, it would ripple through her community, making waves towards a place where dignity prevailed. The diner buzzed with unspoken stories, and as she clutched her breath, the moment of truth arrived. Would this be the beginning of justice, or just another heartbreak? The air crackled with anticipation, leaving hearts racing and eyes wide. What would her future hold in this unyielding world? Sarah stepped into the diner, her heart thumping like a drum. She scanned the room, finding the hiring manager, Mr. Smith, seated at a corner booth, oblivious to the storm brewing inside her. The scent of coffee and pancakes wafted around her, a stark contrast to the heaviness in her chest. Just yesterday, she felt cast aside, but today, determination coursed through her veins. With Jackson by her side, blissfully unaware of the gravity of the moment, she walked over. His small hand tugged on hers, grounding her in the chaos. "Mommy, can we sit by the window?" he asked, eyes sparkling. She smiled, but it was a fragile smile, crumpled by the weight of what lay ahead. "Not this time, buddy. We have some business to take care of." Mr. Smith looked up, surprise crossing his face. Sarah's heart raced as his frown deepened, but she pushed against the tide of doubt. "Mr. Smith," she started, her voice slightly shaky but clear, "I need to talk to you about what happened the other day." He shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting to Jackson before returning to her. I don't think this is the right place. I don't care if it's the right place, Sarah interrupted, finding strength in her anger. You didn't see me. You saw a child. You dismissed me as a parent instead of seeing me as a professional. The words poured out like a floodgate opening, each syllable weighted with hurt for herself and for every mom who faced similar judgment. Jackson remained quiet, his fingers still intertwined with hers. She could feel the curious glances from patrons around them. Was she making a scene? Did it even matter? Mr. Smith cleared his throat, glancing down at his plate. Being a parent is a challenging responsibility. I understand that, but business is also serious. The two are not mutually exclusive. Sarah exclaimed. The bubble of frustration and helplessness had popped, leaving rawness in its wake. You don't understand what it's like to juggle everything and still want to provide for your child. I'm more than capable. Just because I brought my son with me doesn't make me any less of a candidate. A silence settled, hanging thick in the air, and she could see the flicker of realization in Mr. Smith's eyes. Perhaps, for the first time, he was seeing her as a person, not just a single mom stereotype. A hushed voice from the back shouted, "You go, Mama." And Sarah felt the warmth of encouragement ripple through the diner. A waitress shot her a nod of solidarity, a small smile reassuring her of the power of community. Mr. Smith shifted again, but this time, he seemed more contemplative. I just listened to your heart for a moment, Sarah cut in. Imagine a world where mothers are respected for their strengths. We're multitasking warriors, managing responsibilities that go beyond any job description. You may think a child distracts, but they teach resilience, creativity, and love skills that benefit any workplace. As she paused to catch her breath, a rush of vulnerability hit her. This wasn't just about the position at the community center. It was personal, a stand against a world that often overlooked the true value of motherhood. Would he get it? Would he even care? Mr. Smith studied her, and for a fleeting second, she saw a flicker of understanding. Maybe I was too quick to judge, he said slowly. It's just think about it, she urged, her heart pounding in her chest. I deserve a chance. We all do. Would he take that chance? Would he turn a blind eye to the potential that shone brightly from those who fought against the odds? Sarah could only hope that her words found a home in his heart. As she left the diner, Jackson squeezed her hand tighter. Did you win, Mommy? I don't know yet, she replied, the uncertainty hanging in the air like a delicate web. But one thing was clear, she had fought not just for herself, but for every woman who felt diminished by the world's expectations. And she wouldn't stop now. The next steps loomed ahead, uncertain but alive with possibility. Would her bravery echo back to the community center? Would it inspire others to challenge the norm? Sarah smiled at her son, a whisper of hope flickering once again. They would face whatever came next together. What would it mean for her fight, and would the world change in ways she'd only dared to imagine? The morning sun was still low in the sky as Sarah and Jackson strolled through the park, an energizing moment after the intensity of their diner showdown. Birds chirped cheerfully above them, and the sweet scent of blooming flowers filled the air. For some reason, the beauty surrounding her amplified Sarah's restlessness. Mommy, can we play on the swings? Jackson's voice broke through her thoughts, bringing a smile to her face. Sure, buddy, she replied, though her mind was still racing with the conversation she'd had with Mr. Smith. She pushed those thoughts aside for now. She needed to be present for Jackson. They found an empty swing, and as he climbed on, a weight slowly began to lift from her shoulders. Watching him swing higher, joy radiating from his small frame, nudged her heart back to a lighter place. She couldn't help but chuckle when he yelled, I'm flying, Mommy. Look at me. Just don't fly too high. She warned, pretending to panic. His laughter bubbled over, a sound pure and infectious. It warmed her soul. As they played, the warmth of the sun turned familiar worries into fleeting shadows. They lingered on the swings a while longer before Sarah suggested they find a spot on the grass for a snack. Always prepared, she had packed peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, along with apple slices in juice boxes. As they settled on a patch of grass, Sarah's phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from Linda, her best friend. The words on the screen made her stomach flip, an invitation to a mother's support group meeting that night.
"Mommy, what's wrong?"
Jackson asked, noticing her change in expression. "Just a message from my friend," Sarah said, but she felt a burning need for the meeting. The very thought of being with other mothers who understood her struggle ignited her spirit.
"Can we go?"
she whispered to herself, the idea forming like clouds gathering before a storm. Jackson, still munching on his sandwich, didn't follow her train of thought. But she thought of how she had stood tall against Mr. Smith, how she had spoken her truth, and now it seemed almost essential to share that energy with others like her. Could she gather the courage to share her story?
Would she talk about the diner moment, the fire ignited within her?
If there was strength in numbers, maybe this was the time to let it all out. "Hey, buddy," she turned to Jackson, grabbing his hand for a squeeze.
"How about a little adventure tonight?"
His eyes lit up.
"Like a treasure hunt?"
"Something like that," she laughed, feeling a thrill of excitement rush through her body. It was time to take a stand and possibly inspire other moms who felt invisible too. Just then, her phone buzzed again, snapping her back to the present.
"Mom, we need to hurry to the playground," Jackson exclaimed, pointing.
"I want to try the slide before we leave."
"All right."
She smiled, a rush of determination bubbling in her chest. They raced over, laughter echoing as they built a small moment carved out of joy amidst the chaos of daily life. But as the sun began to set, coloring the sky with shades of orange and pink, the nerves began to creep back in.
What would she say? Would they understand?
Would Mr. Smith's words echo like so many others had in her life? The meeting loomed ahead, a whirlwind of emotions on the horizon. Sarah took a deep breath as she watched Jackson conquer the slide, a wave of pride swelling in her chest.
"Okay, buddy, let us get ready to go home."
As they gathered their things, a thought struck her. It was time to turn the narrative on its head.
"Mommy, are you okay?"
Jackson asked, noticing her contemplative gaze. "I will be," she replied softly, but the truth was, she was ready to fight for all that she and others like her deserved. As they walked home, hand in hand, she felt a shift.
Tonight could be the beginning of something monumental.
Something within her stirred awake more than just hope, it sparked a fire.
A question lingered in the air, buzzing with anticipation. What would she discover about herself in that small room with other mothers seeking understanding just like her? As twilight settled in, Sarah and Jackson walked home, the summer air warm against their skin.
The streetlights flickered on, casting a soft glow that danced around them. Each step felt significant, as if the sidewalk was marking the beginning of her new journey.
"What kind of treasure do you think we'll find tonight, Mommy?"
Jackson asked, his imagination swirling like fireflies in the dusky sky.
"Real treasure, just like in the stories," she said, hoping to match his excitement.
"Gems that shine and stories that sparkle."
"Like pirate gold?"
He giggled, bouncing on his toes, full of childhood wonder.
"Exactly.
But you know, the best treasures are the ones that help us grow." As they turned the corner toward home, Sarah found comfort in Jackson's laugh. It reminded her of why she was pushing herself to attend the meeting.
It wasn't just about her.
It was about being a better mom, a role model. A woman with a voice. Once home, she prepared a simple dinner, one that Jackson could help with. They made tacos together, filling each tortilla with ingredients that mirrored their colorful day. Jackson's laughter filled the air as he clumsily dropped his toppings everywhere, but it didn't matter. This was their time, their routine, and it made Sarah feel grounded. Later, as they sat together on the floor, building a fortress of cushions, Sarah's mind drifted back to the meeting. She thought of the support group's room, filled with faces weary yet hopeful.
Would she be able to open up about her struggles? About the choking fears that sometimes kept her up at night? "Mommy," Jackson interrupted her thoughts, peering through a gap in their wall of cushions, "are you okay? You look funny." "I'm good, buddy," she assured him, though the uncertainty brewed beneath the surface.
Their fortress built, they crawled inside, giggling as they created stories of brave knights and fierce dragons. But even as they played, the reality of the evening ahead loomed like a dark cloud over her heart. After their adventure, Sarah tucked Jackson into bed, reading him a story about a multitude of faces coming together, sharing hope and courage. As she turned off the light, he yawned and murmured, "Good night, brave knight." "Good night," she echoed, planting a light kiss on his forehead.
Alone in the dim light of the hallway, Sarah inhaled deeply.
It was time to face the reality of the support meeting. The thought tugged at her with mixed emotions. Part of her felt scared, like she was standing at the edge of a cliff, uncertain of what lay below. What if her story was met with indifference, or worse, judgment? The other part of her felt an undeniable pull and eagerness to share, to connect. She imagined the shared stories of struggles, joyful moments, and hard-won victories echoing through the room. As she showered and slipped into something more comfortable, she caught a glimpse of her reflection. This was her moment of truth, a chance to reclaim her narrative. A moment where she chose to be strong and visible. Her phone buzzed again, a reminder, support group meeting tonight at 7. And with that, a knot in her stomach tightened. Would she really go through with it? With a quick glance at the clock, she felt the minutes ticking away. Suddenly, the question wasn't just about what she'd say, but about what would happen if she didn't speak at all. As she slipped out the door, a sense of urgency gripped her heart. This was the start of something, she could feel it. Holding tightly to hope, she stepped into the night. What awaited her in that small room filled with mothers sharing tales of their quests for strength? Would she find the courage to reveal her vulnerable side? Would she discover allies in the fight against the shadows of her past? The night air was thick with anticipation as Sarah walked toward the community center. Each step echoed louder than the last in her mind. She thought about Jackson's innocent excitement and how she had promised to be brave, but nerves tangled in her stomach, making her heart race. The building loomed ahead, its welcoming light spilling out onto the cracked pavement. She paused for a moment, taking a deep breath. What was she afraid of? The judgments? The vulnerability? Or was it simply the fear of being seen? Pushing the door open, Sarah stepped inside. The warmth of the room enveloped her, but it was nothing compared to the flood of emotions sweeping through her. The group was already gathered, a mix of familiar and new faces whispering softly, their conversations laced with understanding and shared stories. "Hello. You must be new." An older woman, her gray hair tied in a loose bun, approached Sarah with a bright smile. "I'm Claire. We're just about to start. Come join us." As Sarah moved to a chair, she surveyed the room. There was a palpable sense of camaraderie, a blanket of support that eased her anxiety, if only a little. Each woman wore a different story like a badge. Some had tears glistening in their eyes, while others flashed weary yet determined smiles. "Welcome, everyone. I'm glad to see you all here," a mid-30s woman named Emma began. Her voice was steady, filled with compassion. "Tonight, let us share our journeys. Remember, this is a safe space." Sarah's heart pounded as she clenched her hands. She was about to enter a realm of honesty and vulnerability. The women began to share their stories, each one more powerful than the last. A single mother spoke of losing her job and how it fractured her family. Another recounted the painful journey of overcoming addiction. With each story, Sarah felt her defenses lower. Their fears resonated with her own. They weren't just sharing words, they were sharing pieces of their souls. Then it happened. The moment came when Emma looked directly at Sarah. "Would you like to share something?" All eyes turned toward her, and Sarah felt the weight of their expectations. Her throat felt dry, and words jagged at her tongue. I haven't really, I'm not sure I can," she stammered, suddenly grappling with the reality of her fears. But the supportive nods and reassuring smiles from the others wrapped around her like a warm hug. It was at that moment she realized she was not alone. They were all here for a reason. Some had survived storms. She too had weathered her share of doubts and struggles. Taking a deep breath, she started. "I'm Sarah, and I'm just trying to be a better mother." Her voice was shaky, but she pressed on. "Sometimes, I feel like I'm drowning under the weight of it all. I worry about my job, about being a good mom. I'm just really scared." As she spoke, the tears flowed freely, breaking the dam she had built around her heart. Confessions spilled forth about her struggles, the moments of loneliness, and her desperate yearning for connection. The vulnerability was raw, but it was also liberating.
"Thank you for sharing that," Emma said softly, her eyes glistening. "You're stronger than you realize. Just being here is an act of courage."
In that moment, surrounded by understanding, Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. What she had feared would be a bout of judgment turned into a sanctuary of acceptance. As the group continued to share their stories, a sense of unity began to build. Together, they didn't just share pain, they found strength in their collective experiences. As the night wound down, Sarah felt lighter, free from the weight she had carried alone. Maybe, just maybe, she was on the right path after all. But as she left the meeting, a lingering question remained.
How would she continue to harness this newfound strength when she returned to the challenges waiting for her outside? Would she be able to rely on this community when doubts crept back in?
And as she stepped back into the night, the flickering streetlights guiding her home, Sarah knew she was only at the beginning of her journey. The wind caught at Sarah's hair as she walked home, tugging at her thoughts. Each step was lighter, a celebration of her newfound resolve. Yet, the lingering what-ifs danced in her mind, shadowy reminders of the challenges waiting for her. Jackson's laughter resonated as she approached their small apartment. The familiar sounds of the evening, pots clattering, a cartoon blaring, wrapped around her like a warm embrace. She opened the door, finding him sprawled out on the couch, absorbed in a colorful show. His blonde curls bounced slightly as he squirmed, wholly engulfed in his animated world.
"Mom!"
he squealed, jumping to his feet. His bright eyes sparkled with pure delight.
"You're home."
She wrapped her arms around him, inhaling the sweet, familiar smell of his hair. It was moments like these that made every struggle worth it.
"Did you have fun today?"
"Yeah.
We painted."
His excitement was palpable, and she couldn't help but smile. Jackson always seemed to find joy in the small things. It was a gift she wished she could carry more easily. As she settled beside him on the couch, her heart swelled with warmth.
But then, reality crept back in.
The weight of tomorrow loomed: the interviews, the expectations of work, and the daunting need for stability.
Would she really be able to maintain the courage she had found tonight?
"Hey, buddy," Sarah said, her voice softening.
"How about we talk while you finish your show? I want to hear all about your day."
"Okay.
We made these super cool monsters. Look."
He dashed to the coffee table, showing her a painted paper plate with uneven features splashed in bright colors. It was beautiful not in a traditional sense, but vibrant and full of life.
"This one is my favorite."
"It's yours." Her breath hitched as she took in his creation.
"It's amazing, Jackson. I love it."
She felt tears prick at her eyes again. Her heart swelled, both with love and with an ache of worry.
Was she doing enough for him? Could she really provide the stability he deserved? "Want to help me make dinner?"
she proposed, determined to stay positive.
"Yeah. I can be the chef." He bounced in his seat, eyes glistering with excitement. "Yes. Head Chef Jackson, reporting for duty."
She laughed, playing along with his enthusiasm. The act of preparing dinner together, however simple, felt vital. It was one of the ways she hoped she could give him a sense of normalcy, something to hold on to in the storm of their lives. As they cooked, she let Jackson guide her through his new recipe book, filled with ridiculous drawings and silly names. They joked and giggled, a sanctuary from the outside world, but while stirring the pot, a realization dawned on her.
Their ordinary moments held extraordinary power.
The love they shared anchored her in a way she hadn't recognized before.
"Mom, do you think goulash will be good tomorrow for lunch?"
Jackson asked, breaking her reverie. "That sounds perfect," she replied, though a knot formed in her chest.
What if she couldn't juggle everything?
What if she couldn't be the mother he needed? That night, as she tucked Jackson into bed, she leaned down, kissing his forehead.
"Always remember, you can be anything you want. Just believe in yourself, okay?" "I will, Mom."
His small hand wrapped around hers, a tiny reminder of the support they provided for each other. Yet as she turned off the light and pulled the door closed, her heart raced again. The fear clawed back into her thoughts, and she felt the weight of decisions yet to be made. What would tomorrow bring? Would she find that courage again, or would the doubts envelop her once more? As she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, a resolve began to form. If she could face her fears once, she could surely face them again, but then came the realization she hadn't considered there was more at stake than just her courage. The path she chose would shape not only her future, but Jackson's as well. And in that fragile moment, she understood, true bravery was not the absence of fear, but the commitment to face it, step by careful step. What would that mean for her? And how far would she go? To protect the happiness she craved for Jackson? The questions hovered in the silence of the night, intertwining with the sense of hope that had sparked within her just a day before. She would have to find out. The sun broke through the curtains the next morning, casting a warm glow over the cluttered living room. Sarah blinked into the bright light, feeling the remnants of last night's anxiety cling to her. She took a deep breath, letting the fresh air fill her lungs. Today was the day. Today, she needed to make her mark. Jackson was already awake, bouncing around the apartment, his boundless energy filling every corner. "Mom! Can I have Lucky Charms?" he yelled from the kitchen. "Just a minute," she called back, her mind racing. She dashed to get ready, pulling on clothes that no longer felt quite right. They were functional, yes, but they also served as a reminder of a life that hadn't yet found its direction. As she prepared breakfast, she could hear Jackson humming a tune. His little voice echoed through the kitchen, weaving a spell of comfort around her. They ate fast, sharing laughter over the colorful cereal. In that moment, she felt a fleeting sense of normalcy, a fragile bubble of happiness, before the weight of the day crashed back in. "Will you be gone long?" Jackson asked, his innocent eyes wide with concern. "No, buddy. Just a couple of hours. I'll be back before you know it," she replied, brushing a lock of hair from his face. She wished she could believe the promise she made. Once he was off to school, she stepped into her own uncharted territory. The bus ride felt longer than usual, her stomach churning with anticipation. Each stop felt like a countdown to the unknown, and she couldn't help but glance around, wondering what other nerves were mingling in the air. Arriving at the company building, the lobby was filled with sharp-suited professionals, all eyes glued to their phones, quietly strategizing as if the future depended on it. Sarah's heart raced. She had come to represent more than just herself. She was a voice for all the moms striving for more. As she waited for her interview, she fumbled with her resume, feeling its weight grow heavier in her hands. Not because she doubted her qualifications, but because the imminent rejection loomed large in her thoughts. What if they noticed the slight wrinkles in her blouse? What if they dismissed her for being just a mom? When her name was finally called, she straightened up, a fierce determination burning in her chest. She entered the room, ready to fight for a chance. The interview progressed, and for a moment, she caught a glimpse of connection. The interviewer asked her about her own experiences, and she spoke passionately about her background. She detailed her perfect balance of empathy and grit, how raising Jackson had transformed her life into a kind of resilience crafted art. But as she explained how life had changed after becoming a single parent, she could see his focus wane. There was a moment, a flicker of judgment, as if he was calculating whether the commitment to motherhood would overshadow her professional ambition. "Can we reschedule this interview? I need to drop my kid off," she said, trying not to show her irritation at their rigid stance. The words hung unnervingly heavy in the air, his response cold and clinical. "I'm sorry, but we prefer candidates without conflicting obligations." Her heart sank. Was this the world they lived in? Time and again, she was struck by the stark reality that motherhood felt like a liability rather than an asset. As she walked out of the building, disappointment blossomed into something sharper: anger. Anger at a system that wouldn't bend. Anger at assumptions made about working parents. But she took a breath, refusing to let it crush her spirit. Somewhere within her, a flame flickered, that spark she felt yesterday. And for the first time that day, she asked herself a potent question: what if her journey wasn't just about landing a job, but about showing the world that being a mother could also mean being a fierce professional? Getting back on the bus, she felt the whispers of that anger fuel a new resolve. She wouldn't give up. There was a whole world waiting for her, and it was time to dive in with everything she had, for both her and
Jackson. She watched the city rush past her, the buildings stretching up like dreams waiting to be caught. As her thoughts raced ahead, she knew this experience wouldn't be her last. How far would she go to reforge her identity? And would anyone else recognize the power in her story? The bus pulled away from the curb, jostling Sarah in her seat. She steadied herself against the metal pole, the city zooming by as her thoughts twisted and turned like the wheels beneath her. Each stop brought new faces, all enveloped in their own stories, their own struggles and dreams. But for Sarah, the weight of rejection hung heavy in the air, and she felt it like a shadow. Back at home, the apartment was quiet, a stark contrast to the morning chaos. Sarah plopped down on the couch, feeling the familiar dip envelop her as she sank in. Jackson's paintings, bright and colorful, adorned the walls, reminding her of the joy and innocence he brought into her life. They weren't just decorations, they were symbols of hope, of a future worth fighting for. She pulled out her phone, scrolling absent-mindedly through job listings, each one tinged with that same feeling of anxiety. Would they see her as a single mom or just a qualified candidate? What if she built a competitive resume but never shed the label of just a mom? Suddenly, a notification from her social media popped up. It was a video of a local entrepreneur, an inspiring story of a woman who started her own business from her kitchen table. With tears in her eyes, she watched as the woman shared details about her challenges, about the nights spent working while her kids slept just a few rooms away. The message was clear: if she could do it, why couldn't Sarah? The stirring inside her grew bolder. Yes, the world might not always embrace a mother striving for more, but maybe she could carve out her own path. She grabbed a pen and a notebook from the coffee table, scribbling down ideas fueled by fervent determination. What could she offer the world? Could she take the talent that once brought joy to Jackson's life and transform it into something bigger? Before she knew it, hours had passed, the sun hanging lower in the sky. When Jackson bounded through the door, his backpack slung haphazardly over one shoulder, she felt a surge of pride. "Mom! Guess what? I learned about volcanoes today." His eyes sparkled with excitement, and for a moment, the worries of the day faded. "Tell me everything," she said, her heart swelling as she listened to him too eagerly explain the science behind eruptions. In the glow of their interaction, something shifted inside Sarah. It wasn't just about finding a job anymore, it was about creating a legacy, a future where Jackson could see his mom living her dream. She leaned in closely, captivated by his joy. "You know, kiddo, sometimes we have to build our dreams, just like those volcanoes erupt," she mused. "It takes time and maybe a little heat, but what comes out of it can be beautiful." As Jackson laughed and continued his story, Sarah felt the flicker of hope ignite into a flame. She wouldn't let rejection define her. No more would she wait patiently for an opportunity, she would create one. The anger she had felt earlier transformed into fierce resolve, fueling her ambition as she murmured her secret to the universe: "I will make this work." Later that night, long after Jackson had drifted off to sleep, she sat before her computer screen, typing furiously. Ideas flowed as she mapped out a plan, a business she could start with her skills, something sustainable that could keep her flexible for Jackson and still fulfill her personal ambitions. Just as she clicked save on the document, a gust of wind rattled the window, and the lights flickered. It was a small moment, but it felt like a sign, a reminder that change was on the horizon. She glanced at the clock, the reality of the long nights settling in, but instead of fatigue, she felt exhilarated. Tomorrow would bring fresh challenges, but she was ready to face them head-on. A new journey was beginning, one of resilience, creativity, and growth. As she closed her laptop, exhilaration coursed through her veins. She wondered, what would this journey demand of her? What sacrifices would she have to make for her dreams to take flight? And most importantly, would the world be ready for a mother who dared to redefine her identity? The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window, bathing the apartment in a warm glow. Sarah stirred awake, a sense of resolve guiding her movements. As she brewed her coffee, she thought about the chaos of the last few days and the promise she'd made to herself. No more waiting. It was time to step into her dreams. After Jackson left for school, she settled into her small kitchen table that crammed against the wall, determined to turn her ideas into a concrete plan. She surrounded herself with colorful sticky notes, each one inscribed with hopes and whispers of ambition. Ideas swirled in her mind: a small online shop,
a blog sharing her journey, even workshops teaching parents creative activities. The possibilities felt limitless. As she typed furiously on her laptop, a ping from her phone broke her focus. It was a text from her best friend, Emma.
Need coffee? Big news. Sarah's heart fluttered. Emma's big news could mean anything from engagement rings to job offers. Absolutely. Let me get dressed, Sarah replied, excitement bubbling inside her. Meeting Emma at their usual cafe, the scent of fresh pastries filled the air. They hugged tightly, and Sarah could see the sparkle in Emma's eyes. I got the promotion. I'm managing the new location, she exclaimed, bouncing with joy. That's amazing. You deserve it. Sarah cheered, her heart swelling with pride for her friend. But as Emma animatedly shared stories of her new role, Sarah couldn't help but feel the familiar twinge of insecurity creeping back in. She pushed it aside, reminding herself of her own drive. I've got my own plan, too, Sarah said, leaning in. I want to start my own business. Something I can build while being there for Jackson. Emma's expression shifted to one of encouragement. That's incredible. What will it be? Taking a deep breath, Sarah detailed her ideas, her heart racing with each word. As she spoke, she noticed that instead of the usual questions of doubt her mind conjured, Emma nodded, her expression one of unwavering support. This was the moment where Sarah realized she wasn't alone in her journey. The assurance in Emma's eyes fueled her confidence further. They spent the remainder of the afternoon brainstorming together, ideas bouncing back and forth, as laughter filled the cafe like the aroma of coffee. Hours later, Sarah returned home feeling invigorated. She took a moment to look around at the walls adorned with Jackson's cheerful paintings, and she felt the warmth of inspiration bubbling inside her. It was like she could finally see the pieces of her life coming together, not just as her roles of mother and worker, but as someone capable of so much more. Yet, just as hope filled her heart, a wave of doubt crashed over her. What if she failed? What if she didn't have what it took? Sarah shook her head, trying to push the fear aside. When Jackson arrived home, he plopped down on the floor, peeling open his backpack. Mom! I have a project due tomorrow. Let's tackle it together. She replied, feeling the weight of worry dissipate as they worked side by side, creating volcano models and erupting them with baking soda. Later, as Jackson's laughter echoed through the apartment, Sarah realized how important it was to fight not just for herself, but for him too. Creating a legacy wouldn't be easy, but it would be worth it. As night fell, she opened her laptop again. Familiar thoughts of fear attempted to invade again, but this time she pushed them down. Sure, the future was unpredictable, but she wasn't going to let that stop her. With conviction, she began to write a business plan, fueled by the dreams she'd never let go of. But just as she was finishing, another gust of wind swept through the open window, making her shiver. What was that? She murmured, unease creeping back in. As she glanced over her shoulder, she was left with a question that loomed larger than the wind. Had she bitten off more than she could chew? Would she have to choose between her dreams and her son, and what would that sacrifice look like? As the sun rose the next morning, light flooded Sarah's apartment, filling her with promise. She stirred awake, determined to take that leap. Today wouldn't just be another day, it would be a bold step into the unknown. With Jackson off to school, she poured coffee and settled at the kitchen table. The scattered sticky notes, each a vibrant testament to her dreams, seemed alive with potential. Her heart thrummed with excitement. She envisioned her business taking shape, a sanctuary built from creativity and passion, each piece reflecting the spirit she wanted to instill in her son, Jackson. She set to work, drafting her business plan with fierce energy. As words flowed, her ideas evolved. An online shop for handmade crafts that echoed her journey, stories of resilience woven into each piece. She could teach workshops to parents craving creativity, everything from art projects to confidence-building exercises. The more she wrote, the more a picture of her future painted itself brightly in her mind. Later that afternoon, Emma's text chimed in, lunch? Sarah felt a surge of gratitude for her friend, who had become her anchor. Meeting at their favorite cafe, they shared laughter, fueled by a buoyant hope. I'm ready to kick things off, Sarah declared, her voice brimming with excitement. I'll launch the shop next month. Emma beamed, her enthusiasm infectious. That's fantastic. Just say the word, and I'm in.
Inspired, Sarah returned home keen to start promoting her new venture. But that afternoon, shadows of doubt flickered at the edges of her confidence.
What if no one bought her creations? What if she couldn't juggle everything?
Clenching her fists, she took a breath and pushed past them. With Jackson's laughter echoing in the background, she dove into the planning, the thoughts of doubt slinking away. That evening, she assembled materials for her first workshop. As she gathered colorful papers and art supplies, Jackson burst through the door, brimming with stories from his school day.
"Mom! I made a giant dinosaur!"
he exclaimed, thrusting his creations into her arms. His passion ignited something inside her. Seeing his excitement reminded her why she was fighting so hard.
"Let us build a fort for your dinosaur,"
Sarah suggested, her heart swelling with pride. Together they draped blankets over chairs, crafting a world of imagination nestled within their cozy home.
Jackson declared, "This is the coolest fort ever. You're the best, Mom."
His joy washed over her, filling the nagging worries with warmth. Each moment spent with him solidified her conviction she wouldn't just create art, she would create a legacy his heart would know and cherish. The next day, Sarah's workshop kicked off. She set up in the community center, vibrant colors splashed everywhere, transforming the room into a wonderland. Mothers filled the seats, eyes lit with the spirit of creative play. Each moment shared, laughter erupted like fireworks. Every woman was a tapestry of stories, both shared and unshared. As Sarah guided them through projects, she realized this wasn't just about crafting. It was about connection, about weaving a community that thrived on strength and resilience. In the midst of paint splatters and mismatched patterns, she saw the mothers coming alive, each one shedding the weight they carried.
"Your energy is contagious,"
one mother exclaimed, her eyes shining. The connection was magnetic, they were all in it together. In that space, Sarah felt the remnants of her former insecurities dissolve. They weren't here to judge, they were here to uplift. As she glanced around, she saw her vision come alive, the very community she had longed for, the solidarity of women working, creating, inspiring. Weeks passed, filled with flickers of success and stumbles along the way. With every sale, every workshop, Sarah felt the ground beneath her shift. Jackson beamed with pride as he helped her package orders, excited to be a part of something so special with his mom. One night, while flipping through photos from their journey, Sarah's phone buzzed. A message from Mr. Smith caught her eye. "I've seen your recent work. I admire your drive. Can we meet?" A mix of emotions swirled inside her: curiosity, fear, but mostly empowerment. She reflected on how far she'd come since their last encounter, the seed of doubt buried beneath her new confidence. The next day, she met Mr. Smith in the same diner where they had first clashed. She stepped through the door, familiar scents enveloping her. As she approached their booth, she held her head high. "Thank you for meeting with me," she smiled. "What you said that day stayed with me," he began, his voice steady. "I realized the value of mother's contributions to the workplace. You taught me something about flexibility." With her heart racing, Sarah felt that flame of hope ignite once again.
"It's time we recognize that strength isn't defined by where someone is, but by how far they've come."
Their conversation flowed, and for the first time, Sarah felt his respect not just for her as a parent, but as a professional. As she walked home that day, buoyed by possibility, she imagined the world expanding in ways she'd never dared to dream. She envisioned Jackson, standing tall, proud of the woman he called mom. Emboldened, Sarah sought to create a program for parents to thrive in the workspace while balancing home, adding a ripple to their community. This wasn't just her journey anymore, it was a gift to all mothers. And as the sun set beneath the horizon, painting the sky with vibrant hues, Sarah stood hand in hand with Jackson, ready to face whatever challenges the future held. This was more than a triumph, it was a transformation, a journey that led from doubt and despair to strength and community. They walked forward into the evening, laughter echoing into the warm night. A mother and son, no longer tethered by society's limitations but flying high, ready for new adventures together. Now it's your turn to join the journey. You need to subscribe now to catch every exclusive story that inspires change in our lives. Leave a like now to help this powerful message reach more hearts. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this thrilling conclusion. Your voice matters here, And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation in unity. We rise.